How are you doing, sir?
Very fine. How are you doing that side?
I'm very well. Can't complain. The sun is out, and it's been raining for a few days. I can't complain. How was your weekend?
The weekend was okay, except it was very busy. I have a lot of work to do, so I have to just squeeze some time. Actually,
Oh
from
yeah,
here,
yeah.
I'm getting back to work.
Oh, right on, right on. I had to also maybe stay away from work just to, have this live presentation. Our viewers tonight we're looking at a very interesting topic actually, and basically we are looking at the President Hakainde Hichilema and UPND achievement since election victory. How has Zambia performed since UPND's takeover? So I know that if there's one person who's been very consistent, I think it's you. You've been very consistent from the word go, and you you've proved me wrong in most of the topics actually. So
Is it?
again, a very good evening to you viewers. All I'll ask you tonight is to like and share this broadcast, and then I'll give you a chance to be part of the show by posting the link in the comment section. For now, let me just allow me to say congratulations, Wister.
Thank you very much for the congratulations. We are very happy. We have a president who befits the position.
Well, for
That
me
was
though,
very well.
I can't lie to you. I was PF at some point, and then
Okay.
I'm a keen follower of Nervous Mumbai. I think I can probably say that I'm MMD. But to be honest, I think when you looked at the caliber of the people who are vying uh, for the office, I think HH pretty much stood out for all of us, you know. So 8 months in, what have you got to say about the UPND in power?
Oh, thank you very much. Actually, we now have a Zambia that people wanted, a changed Zambia. The things that we had in the past, where there was mismanagement of resources, there was no peace in the country, there was no direction to where the country is going, where people were just living like for today, there's no tomorrow. All that is gone. We have a new government with a proper vision for the country. They
All
know
right.
we quote the some slogans during the campaigns where we some people sang that with the driver Asa. We have a
Okay.
president, a driver who knows where he's going.
Okay. Before you go any further, I would like to just there's this quote that I found online. It says, "Focusing on what you don't have keeps you too preoccupied to enjoy the things that you do have. Change your perspective, change your life." This is by Andrew Fallard. And for me, I was looking for something to put that was gonna pretty much uh, marry with what we're saying, the topic tonight. In most of the cases, I'll go to work, and then it'll be a weekend, and I'm working, and then I ask myself a question: say, what am I doing? My son needs me, you know. And then right there, just get in my car and then go back home and play with my son. And there are certain small things that we take for granted. And yeah, but to be honest, I think it was a well deserved victory for the UPND. But again, I'll give the floor to you. Please carry on and enlighten me. What has changed since then?
Okay, thank you very much. I'm glad that you are a staunch supporter of Dr. Nevas Mumba, a man of God. Actually, Dr. Nevas Mumba worked with the UPND in ensuring that we have a new government. We remove those that were mismanaging the economy. Even at the moment, the president, Hakainde Hichilema, is enjoying a lot of support from Dr. Nevas Mumba. Yeah. Now, coming to your question, what is it that has changed? We have restored peace and order in the country. I'm sure you are aware that in the past 7-10 years, we were so divided. We could not eat from the same table. We could not be found at the same time with people with different political affiliations. But this time, you find people, you interact with the UPND, you interact with the PF, you find people together all the time. You know, there was a lot of cadreism in public places. For example, in the markets, people that were extorting money from marketeers, from bus operators in the bus stops, money that should have been used by the local authorities to provide services to the people. For example, collection of garbage, keeping the streets clean, street lighting. All that money was just going in the hands of the cadres, the Patriotic Front members. They were just sharing the money amongst themselves. And they installed a lot of fear. I think you remember we had issues of gassing. A lot of people were being beaten on the streets. We had some kind of the militiamen. If you are not Patriotic Front, then you feel like you're not a Zambian. That is the situation that we had in the country. Only the members of the Patriotic Front were perceived to be the citizens of this country. The rest were perceived like foreigners. It was scaring just to wear a red t-shirt in Lusaka. You could be killed just for wearing a red t-shirt because you'd be perceived to be of the opposition. Opposition members were treated like these are people who were taken like we're bringing confusion in the country. It was actually scaring to identify yourself as members of the opposition. There was such kind of consternation in the country. But today, those are things of the past. It just needed political will. President Hakainde Hichilema, on the actual day, on his maiden speech, he just put it clear that if you are going to do cadreism, you are going to cause confusion in town, you are going to cause confusion in the communities, in the of politics, in the name of being a member of the UPND, then you are on your own. You are handed over to the police. Those are things of the past at the moment. We don't have such confusion. People are moving around, doing their business freely, and that attracts foreign investments. Even people from outside who come in the country because they know there's peace. This time, people are trading freely, be it Patriotic Front members, supporters. They are doing their business without any confusion. They are being protected. The police are there to protect everyone. I'm sure through the media, you are able to see such things that we have now a peaceful country.
Wow. Thank you very much for me. I've been outside the country for quite a long time now, and the picture that I have is the Zambia that I left back then, right? But of course, I've seen people complaining. I've read blogs and all that, and it's what I've just come to note is that it's very much easy to destroy a country, you know, and I think that we as the electorate we have to be careful with the people that we usher in office, you know. It has to start from the ground up there up to plot one, because it's you can't take people for granted for a long time like that, you know. Having said that, so are you able to give me the few things that the UPND has called?
Just clarify your question a bit.
Are you able to itemize the things that the UPND government has achieved so far?
Yeah, I've just outlined one where I talked about the restoration of peace in the nation. There's order. I think I can move to the next point. We are now a united country. You know, in the past, during the Patriotic Front government, we were so much a divided country. People just look at your surname and then you are denied opportunities that you deserve as a citizen of this country. People lost their jobs just because of being affiliated with a certain province, which were perceived to be UPND. If you are coming from provinces that is perceived to be UPND stronghold at that time, you just know that you are denied a lot of social amenities. Even in trading space in the markets, you are not allowed. Your stand will be taken away from you. That's what used to happen.
Mr. Usta, what went wrong? What went wrong in the PF regime? Why were people treated like that?
There was an impression where the president, with his friends, they thought that if they divide the country, because there was a perception that if the PF, the Patriotic Front, they thought that if they can win Northern Province, Muchinga Province, Luapula Province, Eastern Province, and then they had an impression that they had a lot of overwhelming support on the Copper Belt and Lusaka. All they wanted was to please people from only these provinces, because they thought the UPND or the opposition only had support in 4 provinces. So they thought if they had support from 6 provinces, their perception was that they were going to have an automatic victory. They were so convinced. So what they tried was to divide the country.
Divide and rule?
That's what they wanted, which is evil. The country was so divided. But little did they know that Zambians are not for that kind of, because we have intermarried. We've married from different provinces. We are one people as a country. So such things really upset Zambians. That's why they turned out in big numbers and voted the way they did.
Well, I'll give you a very good example, though. I'm Bunda by tribe, right? I'm from Western Province, but I was born in Southern Province. You know, I went to school in Southern Province. You know, and to be honest, I speak more Tonga than my actual, tribe. You know.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. I speak. I was born in Mamba. My father
All right.
used to my father used to work in the Mamba collieries, and my mother is still there, actually, as a matter of fact. So and you know how deep that it's
And
messed up my
where?
accent, but it's it's okay. Yeah. So one thing that surprised me was how the PF led Kambwili to utter such disparaging remarks. It was it was bad. It was so detestful, you know. And for me, I think that's where things went wrong, because by virtue of them trying to give him the platform, it means that they had no message to preach, you know. And but by the appointments, I think he HH pretty much shut people down on that racial layer. But again, your sentiments on that, please. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. With such kind of divisive tendencies that were characterized by the Patriotic Front, where they thought if they had the 6 provinces, then they would automatically continue ruling as much as they wanted and continue doing wrong things, amassing wealth within a small group of people that were members of the Patriotic and their supporters. We had a new president on the first day, on his inaugural speech. He said, we're going to raise the bar. We are going to form a government that is going to have representation from all sectors of society, representation from all the provinces. You can look at the names of members of cabinet. They are from all over the country. There's no province that is left out. All the appointments that are there, they have representation from all the 10 provinces of our country. And the country is now united. There's no one who feels left out. They thought the Kambiris, could come out openly in public that if these people come in power, because according to the PF, they were cheating people that UPND is for Tonga people. Once these people come in power, they will just look at your surname. They look at your surname, you are Bemba, you have no job, you'll be removed from employment. But look at the moment, the vice president is a Bemba. The most powerful woman at the moment in the country is Bemba from Northern Province. And she's doing very fine. We have people representation. We have people like there's Jenga, find those names. There's the Tushi, we have the Mposha of this world. All those people are in our inclusive government. That is the kind of unity that the UPND brings to the fore.
Okay, so
if you look at the
yes, please.
Let me just mention a bit more. Yeah.
Okay.
You remember the PF boasted very much about infrastructure development, where they talked about the roads, which are actually done with poor quality. They are now broken down. The roads are very bad at the moment, almost all over the country. But you can imagine, if you look at distribution of wealth, Northwestern, for the massive infrastructure development that they boasted about, Northwestern Province, just because they were perceived to be a stronghold of UPND, got 0%. What kind of leadership was that? But this time, resources are going to be distributed according to the needs. That's what the UPND brings to the fore. There will be fair distribution.
Are you there? You're breaking.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm getting you. I was saying you can go ahead. You have a question.
Yeah. So, what's the next item that the UPND government has called?
There is increased funding to the health sector. I can give you an example. I hope you are getting me.
Yeah. Yes, I'm getting you loud and clear.
Yes. The budget cycle for the country starts on the first day of the first month of the year, which is January the 1st. The UPND assumed power in August last year. But then from August up to December, they could not do anything away from what the law stipulates, because you have to operate within the budget of that particular period. And what they found was a PF budget up to December 31st. Then January 1st onwards to today, this is the 4th month of the year. We have, while using the UPND budget that our finance minister, Stumbeko Musoktwane, announced, this is the 4th month. We're almost to the end of the month. And I can assure you, the Ministry of Health, all health institutions, the districts, they have been receiving grants every month. 4 grants have been received at facility level, at district level, for the smooth running of the health institutions, the health sector. But during the Patriotic Front, you find that maybe only 6 grants were offered to health institutions. So it was very difficult to run health, to provide service delivery in the Ministry of Health. But at the moment, funds are being released timely.
Mr. Masenge, when we look at the funding to the health sector during the PF, I think for 2021 we had about 9.7 billion, and then 2022 we have 13.9 billion, with a difference of about 4.2 billion, representing about 43% increase. Now the issue is this a mere rhetoric? Because people have been complaining that there's no medicines in the hospital.
The medicines are there. Okay, let me handle that one. We are talking about a transition from a brutal and cartels in the procurement system, because so when you do a cleanup, government, you are a new government, you come in, problems are there, and they identified them. There was inflating, exaggeration of the costs in the procurement system, because in some way, members of the Patriotic Front were benefiting. It is their friends that they give contracts to supply drugs to the Ministry of Health. So what the new government did was to terminate those contracts and then advertise those procurement tenders for new people or authentic organization to come and but at the moment, new contracts are signed and supply of drugs is now going on.
Well, as I just said, the PF spent about 9.7 billion on health sector, and pretty much most of that was rotten drugs, the honeybee issue, and all that. So there's a whole bunch of people saying that the drugs are not there, but we'll give them a bit of time and see what happens during the course of the next quarter for sure. What other what's the next item that you think the UPND has scored?
Oh yeah, let me come to something.
Yes.
That President Hakainde Hichilema really talked about throughout his time in opposition.
Yes, please go ahead.
Spoke.
Oh, we seem to have lost.
And I can assure you, it sounded like a lot of rhetoric. I think even myself at some point, I could doubt, but just because of the faith that I have in a man, because of his track record, I would come to accept, say, no, this man is definitely going to provide what is expected.
And what's that item, Mr. Maseng?
Yeah, that is free education.
Well,
everyone thought this was impossible, because hello?
There have been complaints that when let's say pupils go to school, they're asked to buy certain things, uniforms and all that, and many people are saying that free education is not absolute free. It's not really free. But can you explain on a few noises that have been emerging from this free education? Because it seems like a lot of people are saying, look, this is not absolutely free. There's certain hidden problems that the people are not mentioning. I've heard people complaining that the funding comes in late and all that. And what have you got to say on regarding these issues?
It is not true. We removed a group of adults calling themselves a political party, the Patriotic Front. They have employed a number of propagandists, people who are employed and paid to mislead, misinform, and deceive. And these are the people that are peddling lies to say there is no free education. Free education is there for everyone to see. Children are not paying. At the moment, people are talking about classrooms being congested because a lot of children that had dropped out of school, they have come back. They're in class. They are learning. Of course, yes, there are complaints that because of the increased number of pupils in class, there is not enough desks. Oh yes, there's not enough because the Patriotic Front did not leave enough desks in our learning institutions. But the current government, through the Constituency Development Fund, which has even started being released now, desks will be procured. The process is already going on. So the issue of desks will be an issue of the past. Free education for every child, no matter how poor where you are coming from, you'll be in class with the richest person in your community, the richest person is child. You receive free education.
I have a comment from Mercy Manengo. She says that our uniforms free.
Oh. Oh, they are not free. When we talk about the free education that we are providing, I'll be very specific.
Okay.
When you talk about funding education, there's funding that goes to tuition fees.
Mm-hmm.
There is what was called PTA fees.
Yes.
There's what was called user fees. So tuition fees is coming from government, absolutely free. PTA is coming to government, absolutely free. User fees coming from government, absolutely free. Of course, uniforms for now, us as parents, we have to contribute just a bit. Just a bit. If you just manage to buy a uniform for your child can go to school with the books, then you know that your child is going to receive the education that is needed. Of course, there's a small contribution that is expected from our parents. Commitment.
Okay, now the other aspect that just I've heard a lot of people say this. They say that the quality is going to be compromised because of the pupil to teacher ratio. How is that? How is that a problem?
Yeah, pupil to teacher level, and I'm very happy with that question. Yes, when the pupil teacher ratio is not good, when the balance is not okay, of course education will be compromised. But I'm sure as the new dawn, you have heard that more than 30,000 employees are going to be recruited. The process is actually on right now as we are speaking. There will be more teachers coming on board to take care of that situation that people are talking about the pupil teacher ratio. A lot of teachers, thousands of teachers are going to be employed to mitigate that fear that people have. That is well taken care of.
Okay, we'll come to that aspect a little bit later during the show. What's the next item that you think has been scored by this current regime?
There is increased professionalism in the public sector.
Can you shed more light on this one? Because I don't think it's palpable, right? It's very hard to see. So how would you attribute this as an achievement?
If you remember, the police, I'll use the police as an example. They could just be commanded by Patriotic Front cadres. For example, I will not mention the names because certain cases are actually in court, so I don't want to prejudice. But you are aware, this is common knowledge, that members of the Patriotic Front, they had the power to instruct civil servants, instruct the police, say, can you arrest that one and throw him in the cells? And the police could just follow and do the arrest. You are aware that the deputy spokesperson for the Patriotic Front, Antonio, he calls himself Antonio Mourinho Mwanza, he had actually prepared that immediately Hakainde Hichilema loses the elections because they thought he was going to lose, that they will now throw him back in prison more than the 127 days that he spent the last time that they incarcerated him. Mm-hmm. And this is the Mourinho, Antonio Mwanza, who does not work for government. This is just a common cadre from the street who had that authority to command civil servants to do what they wanted. You are aware that those people who refused to follow Patriotic Front members' instructions were retired in national interests. People lost their jobs. You remember the case of, for example, Wakunguma, the Northwestern Province officer commanding. He was instructed to arrest Patriotic Front cadres, UPND cadres, but he refused. There was confusion. Those people that were causing confusion, the PF members, they were arrested. And the Secretary General of the Patriotic Front instructed that that person should be fired. And he was fired. That is common knowledge in the country. But with a new dawn, the gentleman has been brought back to work because he was just doing his job. This time, there's no interference from the ruling party on how civil servants are supposed to work. They are now working freely without any political interference. So professionalism has been emphasized. It has been restored.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, I'll ask you to like and share our page. Tonight, we are pretty much looking at the achievements that the UPND government has scored 8 months in. My guest tonight is Mr. Wilster Masenge. And again, please, what's the next item that you think has been achieved by HH?
We now have improved media freedom in the country. This time, public, for example, the public broadcaster, ZNBC, what used to happen in the past? Immediately it is 19 hours. The news starts. The first name that you are going to hear, the first item that will come is Edgar Chagwarungu. The next news item that will come, it is Bowman Lusambo, the minister at that time of Lusaka province. The next thing that will come, it is the vice president in Ongewina. The next item that will come, it is Kampyongo. Throughout the news, the only thing that we hear is the Patriotic Front. And whatever they were trying to mislead people that they were doing fine. But this time, all opposition political parties are being covered. The Patriotic Front, this time, you are able to see them on the 19 hours main news, criticizing the New Dawn government. And they are allowed. ZNBC staff are free to cover anyone, be it the UPND, the Patriotic Front, Socialist Party members. You've heard the Sean Tembos, they are covered. Of the UPND, but they are covered. No, there's fair coverage, yes.
Just to cut you short on that one, do you think pretty much UPND shot themselves in the foot by allowing this? Because there seems to be a lot of people that are not happy with this government.
No. Actually, I'll give an example of myself. Mm-hmm. I want the UPND to perform. If they don't perform well, I'll be in the forefront to criticize them and ask the people of Zambia to remove them. So the tenets of democracy, they will ask for fair media coverage. And actually, by allowing criticism for anyone to develop, even yourself and myself as individuals, we have reached where you are. We are where you are. It is because of criticism from other people. Because when they criticize you, they are pushing you up. They are raising your standards. They are pushing you to go up. So the UPND has decided to allow them criticize us so that we can do better. We call it checks and balances. And checks and balances will not come if you don't allow media freedom. Times of Zambia, the Daily Mail, they are covering everyone.
Media freedom, as you rightly say, there's a score of people that are saying, there's no media freedom. An example is Chirufya Tayali. He says government is very vindictive. What's your comment on that?
You're talking about this gentleman who even, you are aware that this gentleman, at some point, he was spreading a lot of falsehoods against President Hakainde Hichilema. And then Hakainde Hichilema decided to give him a very good and legitimate platform where he was going to vindicate whatever information he claimed to have had against the president in the opposition by that time. He took him to court, not because he wanted to fix him, but because he wanted to give him a very legitimate platform where he was going to speak freely and provide the information that was going to be documented against President Hakainde Hichilema. And when he was given that opportunity, he had to backpedal. He apologized. And this is the same person that is talking about media freedom, that the UPND are not offering that. The gentleman is not authentic. He's not a trustworthy person. I can repeat this. I can say it in his face. Actually, I once met this gentleman, I think, a number of times, when there was a by-election in Munilansolo, his home village in Chinsali. I met him there. At some point, we were lodged at the same lodge, and we met. At some point, we even went for a drink. He doesn't drink alcohol. Me, I drink alcohol. We went out for a drink with him. He was taking his Fanta. I was taking my Mosi. I told him in his face that he's not straight. These are people we call the candidates. These people want to scandalize others in order to earn a living, to lead a standard of life that they want. You have given me a wrong character for an example of people that are claiming that there's no media freedom in the country.
Well, we have the Nakachindas as well. They are saying that Bowman Musambo also, they are wrong characters, but someone could be wrong, but there could be an ounce of truth in whatever they do, right? You don't just ultimately rubbish people and say whatever they're saying is not right, but there could be an ounce of truth in whatever they're saying. So away from that, what's the next item you think the UPND government has called?
I'll come back a bit on the Nakachindas.
Okay.
There are certain statements and that come from what we call sour grapes. Statements coming from people that are frustrated. These are people that think they should be in power. It is just them who should be in government. Career politicians, those that don't want, who can't imagine themselves to be outside government. These are career politicians, not trustworthy people. Nakachinda has been moving from one ruling party to the other. When there was MMD, he was with the MMD. When the MMD left, he left them, joined the Patriotic Front. But now he knows that the UPND, they will not tolerate him. They will not tolerate themselves like Wakaba kind of people. So now he's frustrated. What he has taken now is an option of peddling lies in order to deceive, mislead, and misinform. One of the things, the major achievement by the UPND, March and the beginning of April this time around, have been very busy periods for the human resource sectors of the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education. President HH, before assuming power, when he was campaigning, he promised the unemployed nurses and teachers that he's going to employ them once he comes to power. We are seeing the recruitment process going on for the more than 11,000 health workers and more than 30,000 people in the Ministry of Education. This is a milestone.
Mr. Wooster, when you look at the number of applicants versus the available jobs, right?
Yes.
Don't you think that there will be corruption in how government is going to handle this? Because I would like to know what criteria they're going to use to give the 11,000 the jobs out of like the 100,000 applicants. And for me, I feel this is a source of corruption because it's not just feasible, and this presents a very, very big challenge for the government.
I've followed this recruitment with keen interest.
What have you got to say about this?
Yes, I'll tell you. If I'll go back a bit to the inaugural speech by the president. He said that we are not going to give room to any form of corruption, and to make sure that there's transparency in the recruitment of these would-be members of staff in government. What they have done, they have recruitment which are comprised of human resource personnel, And then on those committees, there are members of staff from the office of the president, just to make sure that there is no chance for corruption.
Mr. Masenge,
the representation.
Mr. Masenge, we are looking at the policies and procedures. Have they been updated? Have they changed? If let's say we're going to use the same policies and procedures under the PF to give employment to the 11,000, don't you think that there's enough room for corruption to take place?
No. Let's look at the recruitment under the Ministry of Health. During the Patriotic Front, the recruitment was done centrally at the Ministry of Health in Deke House in Lusaka. Only a few people, a small group of people, were given the mandate to recruit for the whole country. But this time, they have decentralized the system. Recruitment is being done at district level. So in terms of policy, the new Don government is operating differently. They have empowered people at local level. It is people at the districts that know the needs of their districts, not Lusaka to decide for the whole country.
Wow. All right.
So in the commission, there's members of the office of the president, just to make sure, and then there are other people from other ministries. So when a committee sits, they are all strangers in that committee. No room for corruption.
All right, thank you very much. And then let's move on to the next item. What do you have for us?
Okay. Another milestone that the new Dawn administration has scored: the increase in the Constituency Development Fund, which is being released timely. This is April. Constituency Development Fund under the Patriotic Front, it was 5.1 billion. The president of Hakainde Hichilema has increased it from 5.1 billion to more than 25 billion. Times 5, my brother.
Now, my question is, have we built capacity in the people that are administering this?
Actually, there are handbooks that have been formulated to guide how these funds are going to be administered at constituency level.
Having a handbook is one thing and administering is another, right? And what criteria was used in training these people, selecting the people that would administer these funds?
Technocrats at central level sat and came up with rules and regulations that are going to guide how these funds are going to be regulated. Anyone who is going to move away from that will be in conflict with the law. And people are observant. You just mentioned that the UPND is receiving a lot of criticism. Yes, because there's transparency. They are free. Members of the opposition political parties, these are public funds. They are free to go and check at the councils at local level on how these funds are being administered. The Nakachindas are free to visit these districts and see how these funds are being administered. They can move in freely. It's unlike the way it used to happen under the Patriotic Front. This time there's transparency.
Well, again, our viewers, tonight we're discussing the achievements scored by HH UPND in government, 8 months in. Tonight I have Mr. Wooster Masenge with this, who's pretty much helping us bring to light those things that have been achieved. So what's the next thing that you have for us, sir?
Okay. Like I mentioned earlier on, when you come in government and you want to change the direction on which you are going to move your vision, either you identify problems, challenges. When the new Dawn came in, they found there was massive unemployment. And then during his campaign, President Hakainde Hichilema promised that there will be creation of jobs. In so doing, in fulfilling the campaign promises, at policy level, the new Dawn administration has come up with the creation of a new ministry, the Ministry of Small Scale and Medium Enterprises, where funds have been put through the national budget so that people can come up with new businesses.
Let me just stop you right there. Don't you think that this ministry is just a lip service? How many people have been helped? Have I come forth and say maybe, like, have they told us what has been achieved from the onset?
Oh yes, the processes are going on. Funds have been allocated in the national budget, so it's not lip service. Funds have been released through the constituency development funds. Like I mentioned, for the first quarter, constituency development funds have been released. That was actually the reason for moving constituency development fund from 5 billion to 25 billion, to more than 25 billion, is to cater for this ministry so that the youths, women empowerment can be there, so that they can run small scale, medium businesses, and that will create a lot of employment. And these monies are not going to be given to individuals like what we saw where musicians and other artists, a few section of people that sang for the Patriotic Front were given money without the interventions on how that money was going to be paid back. But this time, these funds will be given in form of grants or loans, and the money will have to be paid back, and this money will be given in organized groups, the cooperatives. The process is going on, and we are not doing things, there's no fixing things fast, no. You have to gently move. Processes have to be followed. So it is not mere rhetoric. These things are happening, and they'll come to fruition. 2 years from now, these cooperatives, small-scale businesses, medium businesses, enterprises, they'll be seen.
So
people benefit at constituency level.
Is there like a list of SMEs that have benefited from this ministry?
At the moment, like I mentioned, because we're just 4 months into government, these processes are going on and people are going to benefit. The funds have been released. The funds were released actually last month. So applications have to go on. People have to attend interviews. They have to produce their business proposals for them to be funded. It's processes. You don't just disperse monies like we saw under the Patriotic Front, where people will just queue at the market and then they just start receiving money. That is not the way of doing business. That is a legitimate way of doing business. But the New Dawn is doing things legitimately. The law has to be followed. The processes have to be followed.
All right, our viewers, we have Mr. Wooster Masenge tonight, and we're discussing the achievements of the UPND government. I've posted the link in the description. Just if you want to be part of this show, just kindly join us. Again, I'll ask you to like and share this broadcast as we are discussing the UPND government. So, what's the next item that you have for us?
Okay, again at policy level, there was creation of the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment. The New Dawn administration is alive to issues of climate change. Simple examples that I can give: weather patterns have changed in the country. It is not the way it used to happen, where like in the past, would we expect that by Independence Day in October, we expect rainfall to start. We saw this year, it started raining adequately way into December. Us here in Zambia on the Copper Belt, on 20th of this month, April, it was raining heavily. These are things that are happening due to climate change. We have an indiscriminate cutting down of trees in Zambia for charcoal burning and the like. The New Dawn administration wants us to move away from that, bring up interventions that are going to make sure that we restore nature. For example, we need to plant more trees, reduce on cutting trees in the country, so that we mitigate climate change and avoid natural disasters that may come with it.
Well, just on the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment, I feel there's an issue that they haven't addressed yet, and you know, and I'm talking about the Forest 27. Don't you think the environment was affected there? And then when the UPND were in opposition, they promised a lot about that forest.
Oh, yes, that's very good. Yeah, Forest 27 is actually an issue that is under discussion. You know, I'll talk about one very important aspect for any successful and any reasonable person. Patience is a good virtue. You know, we have the new donors just come in government and they are doing corrective measures and they're not going to do things in a hurry. They are doing things while in conformity with what law prescribes. They are avoiding doing things away from the law. So they are making sure that everything that they are doing, there's conformity with the law. So actually, that is under discussion. We'll ask for patience, and the correct thing will be done. Corrective measures will be taken. The UPND government is not just going to like explode like a bomb, boom, and everything that they promised happens in a day. That is practically impossible. Let's be patient with this government. They are very determined and up to the task, equal to the task. They will fulfill most of the promises that they made, including on the green economy, corrective measures on Forest 27.
Now, the other issue you mentioned charcoal burning. Is this ministry going to provide alternative sources of energy or heating?
Those are
Or
actually
rather,
the things that
how many trees are they? How many trees have they replanted from the time they were created?
how many trees? I don't think there's anyone who can answer that question. But like I mentioned, this is the new government. This is just the 4th month. Let's just be a little bit more patient, and things will be done. Of course, you asked me, are they going to do away with charcoal? Yes. There are a lot of alternative sources of energy that the new Donny administration is looking at. For example, emphasis on solar energy. There are plans, I think you have seen from the national budget, the importation of equipment and materials that are used for alternative sources of energy because we are too dependent on the hydroelectric power. Anything to do with the alternative sources like solar, the taxes on the importation of such gadgets have been reduced so that more people can access solar panels, inverters, and the like.
All right. What's the next item that we have for us that the government has called?
Oh, yeah, thank you very much. I will take you back to history under the Patriotic Front government. We saw old people who retired from employment in the civil service more than 10, more than 20 years ago, camping at the Ministry of Justice, crying, sleeping there, asking for their retirement benefits to be paid.
Mr. Wisa, are you able to move your screen? I can hardly see you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
You can see me now.
Yes, thank you.
I was talking about the camping by retirees who retired more than 20 years ago, more than 15 years ago. People were camping at the Ministry of Justice headquarters in Osaka, waiting for Justice Minister, given Lubinda by then, to address them, respond to their demands, because they deserved their money. A lot of their colleagues died without getting their benefits. A lot of their colleagues died of hunger, depression, and the like, without getting their terminal benefits after employment. The new Dawn administration has already started just 4 months. In less than 4 months of being in government, they have started paying people that retired in UNIP government during the UNIP period, people that retired during the MMD government, paying people who are retired during the Patriotic Front government. That is a milestone.
Okay.
Celebrating.
Well, there's a comment from Gilbert Lungu who says, "My Bemba is bad. Namufulwa. Sorry, my Bemba is really bad. I've tried, but it's very, very bad. I'm not
I
proud
wish
of it. Yeah.
I wish the question could be specific by saying Namufilwa, because you just don't say Namufilwa, you have failed. Where have we failed? If that person can be a bit more specific, maybe I can respond well. Otherwise, I've mentioned a number of milestones, the development, the scores, the goals by the new Dawn administration. So a plain statement as Namufilwa, what does that person mean?
And then there's a comment from Juliana Kalulu saying, this is what we call political maturity. Well answered. Pretty much, she's praising you on how you're answering these questions. So what's the, before I go any further, I would like to ask our viewers, whoever wants to join in, I've pasted the link in the chat box. They can pretty much click on it and join in and ask whatever questions they feel like asking you tonight. Yes, what's the next item that that you have for us tonight?
Okay, thank you very much, Juliana, for the recognition that we are answering the questions in a satisfactory manner, providing answers. We may not be 100%, but we are doing something to explain to the people what the new Dawn has done. The new Dawn administration has come in with reduced expenditure. I'm sure it is common knowledge that there was a lot of unnecessary expenditure during the Patriotic Front regime. I can give examples. There are times when the president was moving from point A to point B. He would move on the plane with his friends, some of his drinking mates, who are not even civil servants. People have never worked for government, and they'll be in the entourage, in the presidential entourage. What they are doing, we don't know. You've heard of Shimbakambwiri. When it suited him that time, when he was able to genuinely criticize the PF before they put a noose around his neck of imprisonment, before they released him, so that they can use him for the tribal fight. He told us about the friends to the president that he traveled with on the same plane using taxpayers' money. You've heard of musicians, artists who traveled with the president on taxpayers' expenses just to go and sing for him, just to go and sing at Ebwe Rapo, which happened. That was unnecessary expenditure. Those are the monies that were supposed to be used for procurement of drugs. Bring that to the people as possible.
Just on that though, when you talk about reducing unnecessary expenditure in the government, for me, I think I'm on the fence on that one. I'm on the fence because
I hope you can do something.
Hello.
You're breaking.
Yeah, when you talk about reducing unnecessary expenditure, for me, I'm on the fence on that item because the president has not yet moved into Nkwazi House. He has not given us the time frame when the renovations are going to be done. And second, yes, are you able to get me?
I missed a lot, but now you are clear. I missed
what I'm saying is that I'm on the fence regarding the reducing unnecessary expenditure in the government, because the president has not moved in Nkwazi House yet. He has not pretty much told us how long the renovations are going to take. And secondly, we have this issue of the plane. Of what economic value is the plane to Zambia right now? He's not using it. So how is he reducing unnecessary expenditure? Because by this time he should have sold that thing, or at least use it.
The president is going to use that plane.
When?
I hope there's one gentleman that I like very much. One gentleman that is not actually UPND. He's not a member of the UPND. But this is one guy who almost contested the position in Member of Parliament for Matelo constituency, Dixon Jerry, a journalist, very well qualified lawyer, former special assistant to our late president, may his soul rest in peace, Mr. Rupia Bwizanbanda. This was his press aide, a lawyer who understands things much better than us, some of us. He explained it very well about the value that this presidential jet brings to the presidency, to the country, and the country to benefit. You know, the president is very careful. There are times that, you know, depending on where he's going, he would look at the technocrats would sit down and look at how is the travel, how is the security of the president. There are times when he, instead of flying first class or whatever, but there will be times that certain routes, the president may need just go with a direct route, jumping on public planes which are making several connections that he has to move fast, straight to where he's going. That's the time that he's going to use that jet.
No, we'll start. For me, by virtue of the plane just being parked, it's losing money right there. So it's depreciating.
If it is a passenger jet.
It's depreciating. There's parts that have to be changed for it not being used. So when you're going to say that unnecessary expenditure, for me, this is an unnecessary expenditure by virtue of him not using it.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm on the peripherals, on the outskirts of government. I'm not in government, but I'll say something. Tomorrow, the president will be addressing the press. And I'm pretty certain that the president is going to answer that question.
Okay.
One of the things that the president wants to finish.
Yes, go ahead, please.
One of the things that the president is going to address tomorrow is he's staying at community house. The president is going to respond to that himself. I don't want to preempt. It is just tomorrow. I will ask for patience. It's 21 hours already here in Zambia, and the president will address some of
the other argument is that he has to use fuel and then to move to and from his community house to state house. So for me, I don't see a reason why the country should build another state house. They can renovate what they have. Now the question is, didn't Edgar Lungu know that it was supposed to be renovated? Didn't Rupia Banda know that state house was supposed to be renovated? So for me, that raises a lot of questions in the leaders that we have. Mr. Ahmed Sawandili, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm very well.
Perfect.
Yeah, what are your comments this evening? Worcester is having connection issues.
I've been just following. It's really good to see the move by the government, trying to see like the involving in terms of deployment and the systems and the like. I'm sure it's really good. What we just want to do is to support them, not just always thinking about its setbacks, but we want to be always there as citizens to support whatever the government is giving us and give a loom or projection to say they will do it, because it cannot really just happen in the blink of an eye. The whole process is doomed. No, it will take time, as other people are saying. It will take time for us to get there. Even in countries like Israel, where we are here, we have seen all this kind of maybe fuel hike, all this kind of deployment, which is not all that much. There are also these problems that are happening all over the world. But in Zambia, we forget that. We think we are the only country that is having all these issues. It's everywhere, but we just have to be patient. We have just to accept that it is there. The government is almost helping us to create these opportunities.
Well,
and so
Ahmed, on the fuel issue, I cannot blame the president.
Yeah.
Because as a friend of mine always said, there are pronouncements that you can make when outside the office, right? But
Mm-hmm.
when you get in, there are some inherent problems that you don't see from the outside.
Exactly.
And for fuel, even in Canada right now, fuel is almost $2 per liter,
Exactly.
and Canada produces fuel.
Yeah.
Now, what about Zambia that does not provide fuel? You know, for me, I'll always defend him on the fuel issue because
Mm-hmm.
it's not within his control.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That.
let's go back to Mr. Wilson. Mr. Wooster, are you able to get us, sir?
You're
Hello.
breaking, but I'm back. At the break because of network, but I've reconnected and I'm back.
Okay,
Maybe
so
you can
what's the
rephrase the question. You were breaking. I didn't get the question.
I just wanted to say, what's the next item that you have for us tonight?
I'm getting echo. I'm not getting your voice
Well, I said you are on the
clearly.
point number 15. What's the next item that you have for us tonight, other than the economic? You mentioned some reducing unnecessary expenditure, and I said by virtue of the president moving from community house to his office every day, that, that's an expense on itself. So on that one, I said I was on the fence.
Okay, I think we have responded on that one. I'm happy that you had to help me after a break of some interruption that I had. Um, for most people that know and are aware of where former President Edgar Chagwa Lungu was staying when he was, for the 7 years that he was president, he was actually staying at Inkwazi House. No, not Inkwazi House. There's this house, I've forgotten the name. There's some house that he was staying, which is a government property. Maybe someone can help me. Not in Kwazi House, in State House, no. President Lungu was not staying in Kwazi House. He was staying somewhere else, which is actually further than Community House.
Okay, so
Yeah,
in other words, you are saying it's just right for him to move from community house to uh, uh, state house every day.
I'm not saying it's justified, but this is the president that we are talking about. We cannot afford to put our president in a dilapidated building. Some time back, a few years ago, 2, 3 years ago, we had the policy statement in the National Assembly where ministers were giving policy statements on the renovation of the dilapidated Inkwazi House. And even the figures that were needed for renovation were mentioned. The records are there of the Patriotic Front saying that Inkwazi House is dilapidated. It needs renovation. And the president was not staying there. But now that they have left, the very people that did not keep their party president, or was our president by then, in Inkwazi House, they want President HH to go and live there. What do they want? They want him to die. Or what?
Okay, thank you very much, Wusa. Let me give a chance to Joseph. Maybe Joseph has something to say. Joseph, what are your comments tonight?
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
A very good topic it is. A very good topic it is concerning the presidential address tomorrow. Actually, there are a lot of things that the UPND have done positively in line with their promises, but there's too much more to be done. There's too much more to be done.
Exactly.
And so even as we anticipate the presidential address tomorrow,
Exactly.
the hopes are high, stakes are high, hopes are high, and even as the government has performed in some areas, but there are still some areas where we have to check ourselves as a people, as a government, and these areas they have to be attended to. If you've seen the cost of doing business has gone high because of the fuel issue. I think even as the government removed those subsidies towards the fuel, it is very important that the government also considers that there are people who cannot afford. There are poor people out there who cannot afford even a single meal. So hiking the transport sector through the increase of fuel actually makes life very hard for people who are poor, because fuel affects everyone. When fuel is increased, everyone is affected. Just as the issue of uh, power, electricity, those things when they are hiked, the ordinary suffer. The poor ordinary Zambian suffers. And so there is need that the government finds means and ways by which we can see that those people who are underprivileged in society are attended to. And so as the president addresses us tomorrow, I would love if we can consider, of late there has been the issue of people forming cooperatives and making some groups so that they can benefit from the government. I need an address on that aspect as to how those people who have grouped themselves in cooperatives and other groups are going to benefit from the government in general. As you can see, the government is releasing CDF in quotas, and so that means it's not everyone who is going to benefit in each and every quota. So there has to be a way that government will put for the ordinary citizens to benefit from its programs. So we are hoping to hear from our president. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Joseph.
Perry,
Ahmed,
I want to
your
comment on
comments?
that.
Sorry?
I want to comment from what Joseph has said.
Yes, please go ahead, and then Ahmed, you can comment thereafter.
Okay, Joseph, thank you very much for your contribution. Otherwise, the issues that you have raised, they are very important and are actually very good. Yeah, I will start with
Thank you.
the fiscal issue. Yeah, I'm happy that Perry, who is not in Zambia, has just informed us that this issue is not only here in Zambia, the issue of the high cost of fuel. It is actually happening worldwide, and especially that this is affected by the war between Ukraine and Russia. Russia, which is a major producer of the oil that we're talking about, petroleum products and the like. And then what government did was to remove the subsidies on fuel, which made the price of pump price of fuel to go up. But then we ask ourselves, what was the reason for removing this subsidy? You know, in the past, the Patriotic Front, for political reasons, they were getting fuel on credit without paying. But at the end of the day, we must pay back as a nation. And where's the money going to come from? Government had to come up with interventions. And one of the interventions for us to pay back where we got fuel on credit, the PF, they're just borrowing without a plan for paying back. They remove the subsidies so that such monies some of it can be channeled to dismantling of the huge debt that we have as a nation. Because we are not just going to sit back without paying back what we owe. We need to pay back, and we have to come with a way. The new DOT did not find a plan for paying back. So this is just one of the interventions. We need to pay back, and eventually things will get better, especially after debt restructuring. If you just look at the amounts of money that government is saving on subsidies every month, about $67 million every month. At the end of the year, this amount goes to about 720 million. And what can this 720 million do if it was to be directed at one project? I'll give an example. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, an example that I can give on what this $720 million that the government is saving from the removal of subsidies. You remember the PF costed the doing of the dual carriageway from Lusaka to Ndola at 1.2 billion. And we're talking about saving a $720 million. This is actually more than 2/3 of the money that can do a dual carriageway from Lusaka to Ndola. So it's a huge saving. We need to pay back our debt. We need to develop the country.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us. Mr. Gilbert Lungu, your comments, sir?
Well, I was just listening to you guys throughout the last half an hour, and just some of the issues you've been touching on, in terms of the achievements of UPND in the last 7 to 8 months or so. And I'm based in the UK, and I've lived there for 15 years, and I visit Zambia just maybe once or twice a year. And I just have to say, it's not been what we've expected from UPND. I think they've overpromised and underdelivered, really, in that sense. And just looking forward to see what HH has to say tomorrow, really, because there's a lot of things that need addressing tomorrow.
If I were to ask a question, what are you expecting tomorrow when the president addresses the country?
Well, tomorrow, personally, with the issue that's been going on, with the KCM, and day-to-day commuting from his personal house to state house, such issues that what I want an answer to, and it's got to be a comprehensive answer, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you very much. Ahmed, you can pick it up.
All right, thank you so much. Just trying to see, in fact, on the presidential address tomorrow, like for me, I cannot underestimate. We are looking forward that whatever the president will address tomorrow will really give us hope that we are almost there. But what I can just really see and recommend the government is to see, like, this is a step ahead that we have really seen, trying to see that there has been, at least, even when it's not like to cater the whole part of the graduates that we have in Zambia, but it's there to see like they are reducing the burden. But what we are trying also to see is that this issue of criticism, people should stop criticizing the government. Instead, is to support them, trying to see that whatever little is given, let's seize that opportunity. Because what I've really realized is like something is about to mind to say, sometimes we forget. We just want to say maybe for CDF, like we need the whole 25 million. Of course, it's not just to say we need the whole money, but we need to see how do we train people who can really understand how to utilize those monies. That's why the government is in the press to see how they can develop human resource, to see how they can channel, how can they audit and do all those things. But otherwise the mindset that people have when they are promised, they think it comes just as a single day. But it's a process, and then we can just give it room to see and how it will move from there. Of course, we can comment, but it should be in a positive way to see if things are coming in a positive way. Some of us we are really appreciating because it never used to be there. Nurses have been roaming around, teachers roaming around, but it's a step ahead. Next year again, when they announce another budget, they will also deploy other set of people in the professions that we are really looking forward. Otherwise, some of us, we are really glad. We'll continue praying for our country, continue praying for our president to see the need so that we can really have many things as Zambians.
Well, thank you very much, Ahmed. For me, though, the issue that I've had with our leaders is, for lack of a better term, I would say the lack of forecast. You know that people are being born every day. Babies are being born every day. People are getting married, right? and then you know that this is going to present a burden on the country. People want jobs, you know, people want medical facilities, people want electricity. So start. I'm going to forgive Kaunda because Kaunda did his part, and most of the things that we are using right now were built by him. So starting from I'll say starting from Chiluba up until now, I have not seen anyone who is focusing and say, "Oh, look, let's exploit ways on how we are going to generate more electricity in the country because the demand is high. The population has increased. None of that is happening, and then you have these power cuts, and then the other issue is you know that fuel prices are going to go up every year. Why not create like modernize our rail system? That will help everyone. You know, why not reduce taxes on electric buses just to help? For me, all these things, it's a lack of focus. People go in office and then they forget what they went there for. So having said that, Joseph, what are your expectations tomorrow?
Actually, you have said well, moderator. The problem that we have is we have visionary opposition political party leaders who happen when they come into power, they die a natural death from their visions, and they lose focus when they are in power. That's what has been obtained, because as you have said, Kaunda did his part. Most of the infrastructure, most of the equipment what we use in government is because of the proper planning that Kaunda did. I don't know if it was because it was a time when they were shifting from the white rule to so there was that component of maybe the white governance system. But so say we have been talking so oftenly on, for example, establishing plants, manufacturing industries. Uh, from the time we got independence up to now, if you were to count how many industries have we brought in Zambia, those industries which manufacture things, they process things and they sell within our country, you find the tally is very low. So I don't know, when politicians are in the opposition, they promise of these things day and night, but less is or little is done when they get into power. Hope this will not be the trend under UPND government, my party, because as we have already said, hopes are very high. People have expectations very high. Even as the new Dawn government cannot accomplish everything, but there has to be a yardstick by which we will measure them based on their performance, aligning them to the promises that they made before coming into power. And so it's very important that even as the government is in leadership, we offer checks and balances to see that the government works and does towards the meeting of the aspirations of the people, not just keeping quiet. That will not help us. So that's why we have to be speaking out when we see that our leaders are not doing the right thing. And by so doing, even within the leadership itself, within the government itself, we can be offering those checks and balances so that this department or that department or that ministry which is not doing well is improved. And so as the president addresses the nation, my expectations are that he should look into all these angles and see if he's got a proper delivery service system, because we can be talking of the initiative, the policies that the government has put in place, but without a proper managerial team, without a proper policies, all these things will be just bygones by the end of the day. So it's very, very important that the whole system is checked and see that the service is delivered to the very people that elected this new Dawn government.
All right, thank you very much. Next, we'll go to we'll start the next 3 items that the UPND has called, please. And afterwards, I'd like to get your expectations on or what you expect from the president's speech tomorrow. So basically, tell us the last 2 items you think the UPND has called, and then your expectations on the speech tomorrow. We'll start. Take it up, please. Will start. I think he's having connection issues. Hello, Will start. Okay. Yeah. He's.
Are you getting me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. If I'm not getting you, but I can still say something.
Well, basically, I just wanted you to tell us the next 2 items you think the UPND government that's called, and then your expectations on tomorrow's speech. Ahmed, you can pick it up. Worcester seems to have connection issues.
Yeah, for me, I was also trying to see. Is trying to see, like, in my own perspective. I'm sure we have that problem, not only in Zambia, it's everywhere, whereby people are campaigning, they promise from there. Those electorates start chasing them. You promise this and that. I'm sure it's good, of course, but that's where also we miss the point, because what we should also be basing is about the truth that you can do to the people. Because if you promise more and you do less, people ask you, this is what you are telling us. But we also forget as electors to say, those were like some of the slogans that the politicians use in order to win the prize of the people to vote for them. So sometimes we should just focus to say, of course, they promised this. And if they give us maybe an opportunity to say, like I was following to say about the issue of new ministries, like the Ministry of Green Economy, it's really important to see that that ministry has been created. And as youths, we need to see how do we support it. It's by trying to see all those things that the government are trying to say, okay, let's do this, form this cooperative, do all these things. I'm trying to see, like, people still, they don't want to do that. All what they need is to say, you promised more. Of course, it's never too late. We need also to utilize the few that we are able to see, to say, form cooperatives, do this and do that. It really helps us to move a step ahead. But if we are there just to say you promised and you are not delivering, for me, in my own perspective, deliverance has already started. The government is delivering only in a few months, but what we just want to see is how do we support them? We support them by trying to be transparent in the manner in which maybe, for example, CDF is managed. Like, you know, because the government, of course, cannot just be transparent in itself in that set without us as human beings, as the inhabitants on certain sets, trying just to say, oh no, we misuse the funds, we do all these things. But we have really to think the little that the government is giving us, it's an opportunity for us to do more within our own set. Yeah, so for me, I'm trying just to say the issue of maybe corruption and transparency can move hand in hand. Even the government, as we are speaking right now, corruption is appearing, might be there. There's no government which must be perfect 100%. But what we want just to see is the government should accept to say form of corruption could be there in even this new dawn government. But what we want to see is how do we promote this culture of transparency, whereby if we are deploying maybe 30,000 people, maybe the balance could be like they just advertise 40 or 50 so that the difference is not that big. Because like borrowing that point from you, you said like 30,000 maybe are employed as teachers, 11,000, but I saw the applicants are more than 100. So it's really true. Corruption will be there little bit because those people who are seeking jobs, there are many compared with the opportunities given to them. From there, it allows a little bit of corruption, whereby who get the chance because many are willing to be employed. So for me, I'm just praying if the government could put in a system whereby if they're advertising, should be of truth-based. We have this, let the number not go that much. I'm not saying they should stop people applying, but they should just say, we need for this period, set a number of these people who will be employed. And the next time we go for another group, employing people in that way can really help. But what we have been seeing around is it's not like helping, whereby even those states, some people are already saying they are already employed. Those 11 are already there. Those applications are just forms. Names are already picked. So it's really bad in that way, in that state. But otherwise, we just have to see the issue of transparency need to be really firm. Not by just speaking it in words. It should be something which is happening in action. If there's form of corruption, all those people involved need to be brought to book. But
okay,
we are able to see
all right.
this from.
Yeah, thank you very much for those comments. We'll start your last two items that you think the government has achieved, and then I'll basically ask you to give us your expectations when from the president's speech tomorrow, what you expect him to address.
Okay. Sorry, my internet was tripping, and right now I'm back, and my internet is now okay. One of the things that the New Dawn government, though this is not yet implemented, but things are already in the pipeline. The procurement of sanitary pads for the girl child who is in school, so that we promote proper hygiene. The government is already in the process of procuring this stuff for the girl child to use in school, while in school. Because there are some girls who find it very difficult and they even miss classes because they don't have proper sanitary pads. So the New Dawn administration has taken care of that. The process is there, procurement. And then one last item that administration has achieved is adherence to law. The law is being applied non-selectively. If you are UPND, you commit a crime, you are going to be convicted. I'm sure you are aware about the killing that happened in Northwestern Province on the day of elections. As the people were voting, a member of the UPND, of the Patriotic Front, unfortunately was killed. And a member of the UPND, who was a suspect in that case, some conviction have been secured. So the president has put it clear, there will be no sacred cows. You commit the law, I mean, you break the law, you are on your own. You will be convicted. That's to the rhythm of the law.
We'll start, just on that though. We have people that looted the government funds, you know, and no one has been arrested. So what's going on? For me, we need to, like, you know, find out who stole, where, what did they steal, you know?
I'm sure you are aware that arrests have been done. A number of people have been arrested.
Are they in jail right now?
Sorry?
Are they in jail?
Yeah, like I said, when you talk about the rule of law, adherence to the rule of law, it means that the law has to be followed to the fullest. You are not just for a conviction to be secured. A prima facie case should be established. There should be beyond reasonable doubt for someone to be convicted. By the time they are secured, there should be no doubt about it that this person committed a crime. Investigations are ongoing. The law is being followed. There are no shortcuts when it comes to the law.
We seem to have lost Joseph. What do you think the UPND government has called? Your comment.
The UPN government has scored, as I said in the preamble, they have scored in so many areas.
No,
and they're
just
building
list them quickly. We are almost coming to the end of the show.
So on the issue of free education, they have scored there. On the issue of eradicating cadarism, they have scored there. We now have sanity in the government systems, and the ACC is working, and so there are so many areas that they have scored. I can make a list of them, but all in all, they are just beginning, and so they are building up towards scoring to the so many promises that were made. So we can help the government. Actually, we are the government, we the people. So when the government has scored, we have to appreciate them, and where they have erred, we have to speak out, and so that actually the services they offer is for our own benefit. So there's no need to be quiet when things are wrong, and so when things have been done right, then let's applaud and appreciate, and that's the way we're going to have a better country, Zambia. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Wooster, your expectations tomorrow? Oh, Wooster is gone. I thought he was here. Oh, yes, right here.
Sorry, my expectation tomorrow. Of course, there's an issue with the minister who received, whether it's a bag or whatever it was, after meeting the Chinese, after issues of cement. I'm sure the president is going to say something tomorrow. I also want to hear the answers. And then, of course, the president, like I said earlier on, is expected to say something about his staying at his personal house. And of course, we expect the government to give hope to the nation, a lot of pronouncements, so that to provide direction, so that we know as a nation where we are going. Definitely, the president is going to do that tomorrow, effectively.
Well, thank you very much. What I'm expecting is maybe to hear something regarding this Miringo issue. I think it has left a lot of mud on the wall, and I would like it to be resolved as soon as possible, because there's a lot of finger pointing, and basically that's what I'm looking forward to. And the other issue is, I want to see what the president thinks about this fuel issue, because if nothing is done about it, it's gonna dent his reign. As I said, I told you that I'm MMD, but I have so much respect for our president. I like him, and and I wish him well, and will pretty much try to give him the support that he needs. On the fuel issue, fuel prices, I totally forgive him. It's something out of his control. So in closing, Joseph, let me start with Ahmed. What are you gonna say in closing?
I can just wish everyone to have a good night. It was really a pleasure to join this link, and we've learned many things to do with governance system in our place. And we are glad, looking forward to the presidential address tomorrow. Yeah, I'm sure that's what I can say for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ahmed, for joining us. Joseph, in closing, what are your thoughts? Your last sentiments, please.
Yeah, I expect also the president to speak on the abduction issues. That's very cardinal. Let the president attend to that. And on the other side, the youth empowerment, the grants that were given under the Ministry of Youth, that is very important. Youth are very expectant. In all, I also wish well to everyone. Good night to everyone. And our expectation of the presidential speech are very much alive. And so we will comment after the address tomorrow. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you very much. Good night. We'll start in closing. What are your thoughts?
The new Don government has performed very well in just 8 months of being in power, 4 months of the budget. Let's be patient. Of course, we can continue criticizing and providing checks and balances, but all in all, the new Don administration is on course, doing very well, responding to the challenges. Challenges are there, they are responding, they are in the correct direction.
Thank you
All
very
that the
much.
president needs is our support and the support of everyone.
Well, thank you very much. For me, though, I always look around and I always ask myself, what's the next best alternative, right? And so far, there seems to be no alternative. And whoever has better ideas, let them come up and then tell us what they can do better, right? And that's what governance is all about, right? So if there's none out there, then let's give support to whoever is there, right? That's what I would say. Uh, I'm not fully there, but I would say I'm still on the fence. But I told you already that I'm MMD, so I'm just pretty much watching from the terraces. But so far so good. It's been a pleasure having you tonight, guys. To our viewers, saying good night up until next time. Have a blessed night and bye for now.
Thank you very much, Bye-bye, and good night for us that are in Zambia, and good afternoon to you.